Right now at 5, Joplin police release the identity of the man who was shot over the weekend.
And we continue our alert days. Excessive heat warnings extended now through Friday. We'll take a look at that heat coming up.
Plus, authorities in Oklahoma make a trip to Park City, Kansas to search a former serial killer's property.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 5 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
I'm Chris Warner. So it's hot outside. I have hot coffee, and Caitlin is displeased about the fact that I haven't had an opportunity to wipe my coffee down. No. The mug's a little dirty.
The presentation's off. I don't like it. So
I will never.
We couldn't throw it off though before we went on camera. So
I mean, we've spilled plenty of things around here in the mornings before, but I will never bring this coffee mug in your presence again. I promise. Well, at least not until I can wipe it down again. You don't understand. I mean, you folks at home get it. And coffee at this hour of the day is extraordinarily important.
Very important.
It's a very important way to get the day started. Hey, we're halfway through the work week, and the good news there is the fact that we're getting closer to some relief from the heat. We talked about this is going to be one of the longest weeks we have this summer. We now have the excessive heat warnings in Kansas and Missouri that have been extended through 10 o'clock Friday night, which honestly, given what we were looking at for temperatures on Friday, is not a big surprise. Tulsa still playing the warnings in northeast Oklahoma 2 days at a time. So they'll run again through 8 o'clock this evening and then kick back in 11 a.m. tomorrow and run through 8 o'clock Thursday evening. But again, they'll probably continue into Friday. So quick reminders, if you don't have to be outside, don't. Otherwise, if you've got to be outside, stay hydrated, take breaks, limit those strenuous outdoor activities, wear lightweight, light color clothing, check on the elderly and pets because again, these are still dangerous heat index values. Up through today, we're looking at anywhere from 110 to 120 degree heat index values out there. So make sure you are taking precautions. As kids get on the bus, it's going to be another hot one. Here's the thing, though. We're looking at mostly cloudy skies. That icon did not save. I don't know why, but that should be partly cloudy. But mostly cloudy skies today. Now, that doesn't do much, as we were just mentioning, for our heat index values. What it does do is it does keep our temperatures down just a little bit, but not by much. Partly cloudy, 77 at 7 a.m. when they get on the bus. When they get home, we're looking at mostly cloudy skies, temperatures in the mid-90s, and again, heat index values 105 to 110. We have that relief on the way, as we talked about. We'll look at your full forecast here in a few more minutes. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. Well, a man is facing charges after a missing and endangered child from Indiana was found in Commerce, Oklahoma. Authorities say Jonathan Juarez was arrested on charges of first-degree rape, possession of child pornography, and harboring a juvenile runaway. Juarez was booked into the Ottawa County Jail. According to the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, a federal hold has been placed on Juarez pending additional charges. And a 70-year-old guard is safe after inmates took him hostage in a St. Louis jail. They took him at 6 yesterday morning, but freed the guard hours later after a SWAT team intervened. The guard suffered minor injuries and was treated at a hospital. Authorities say less than lethal ammunition was used on the inmates, but did not elaborate. The abduction was the latest of several acts of violence inside the jail, known as the City Justice Center, which holds nearly 700 inmates. Advocates for inmates have long complained about conditions at the jail. A newly released video of a police raid on the home of a 98-year-old Kansas woman shows the woman confronting officers.
Don't you touch any of that stuff.
Ma'am.
This is my house.
It was posted on the Marion County Record newspaper's website. Joan Meyer co-owned the newspaper with her son, Eric Meyer. They also shared the home, but he was not home during the police raid. Joan Meyer died the next day. Her son believes stress from the raid contributed to her death. The security video shows at least 6 law enforcement officials conducting the nearly 2-hour search on August 11th. A prosecutor said later that there was insufficient evidence of a crime to justify the raids at the home and the newspaper's office. And tempers flared Monday in the small town of Marion, Kansas, over the controversial raid of a city councilwoman, a local newspaper office, and its owner's home. The agenda for the first city council meeting since the search warrant were served made it that the council would not discuss that issue. But the vice mayor, whose home was also searched, spoke up outside after the meeting concluded. Betsy Webster reports.
How would you characterize how the police chief and the judge behaved?
Recklessly.
She wouldn't say if she thought the police chief should be fired, but during public comment, a former planning commissioner and friend of the newspaper publisher didn't mince words.
As far as Chief Cody goes, he can take his high horse he brought into this community and giddy up on out of town. The man needs to go. He should have been fired.
Don't you touch any of that stuff.
That's Joanne Meyer on the bottom left of the screen.
This is my house.
She was clearly agitated when police served a search warrant on her home on August 11th. The newspaper said she lost her temper after police had been there for an hour and a half. She died at 2:53 p.m. the next day. Today, the lawyer for her estate shared the coroner's report listing her cause of death as sudden cardiac arrest. He told KCTV5 it, quote, doesn't take a rocket scientist to make the connection. The police department also searched the newspaper office, taking computers and hard drives. The chief alleged that a reporter stole someone's identity by searching a public Department of Revenue website for a driver's license record. But there was a third place searched, the home of the vice mayor, who sent the city administrator a screenshot of the driver's license info that had been sent to her.
And they raided my house. They traumatized my husband, and I am very upset about that. And you don't want to know what I think about the people that are involved in this.
The man running to be the next mayor in the little town, 60 miles from Wichita, said it has divided the town, and he wants to change that by not rushing things. Then clarified he was referring not to the controversial raids, but to the council.
They control the budget, they control hiring and firing, but they don't tell the police officers who to arrest, who to search, who not to search.
Do you think the police chief should stay employed?
It's way too early to make that decision.
The seized items were returned to the newspaper, but the vice mayor said she's yet to get her computer and phone back. She has retained a lawyer and is considering a lawsuit. And authorities from an Oklahoma county searched the former home of the BTK serial killer in Park City, Kansas Tuesday. An Osage County undersheriff said they were following leads on missing people that may be related to the killer by digging up areas at the home. Dennis Rader terrorized the people of Wichita from 1974 to 1991. He gave himself the nickname BTK, which stands for Bind, Torture, and Kill. He was convicted in 2015 for the murders of 10 people. And we now know the identity of the victim from the weekend Joplin shooting. The shooting happened around 1:30 Sunday morning in the 500 block of Joplin Avenue. Authorities have identified the victim as 21-year-old Keza Clark of Joplin. They say he's in stable condition. JPD is asking anyone with information to come forward. The Lubbock County Sheriff's Office is investigating the suspicious death of a Parsons police canine. Parsons police officials say the canine named Karam was put into his kennel Monday after working a 12-hour shift and was tended to as normal. His handler then went to sleep, and when he woke up, he found Karam unresponsive. Karam was a 4-year-old Belgian Malinois that's been with the departments since 2021 as part of their narcotics department. His body was sent to the Kansas State University School of Veterinary Medicine for an autopsy. Joplin students are back in school, but they might be arriving for classes a bit late. That's because the district was not able to fill all the positions for the bus drivers, and some routes are being affected. The district doesn't have a specific number of full-time positions to be filled, but encourages anyone interested in applying to join the 54 current bus drivers. Some parents report waiting for a student more than an hour in the hot temperatures. Officials say 2 routes are being delayed, but others are also dealing with issues.
We try to have when we know that a route's going to be delayed or there's going to be a hold on students, we try to put that information out really quick through the school, through Parent Square, which is a new program that we have this year in the district. And so parents can get automatic alerts that says their bus is going to be late through that Parent Square app.
Parents are being warned about the delays through text messages. District officials expect the situation to improve in the upcoming weeks. If you'd like to apply, you can find more information on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in the first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, there was a softball jamboree in Carthage. We'll take you there to learn more about it in sports. Plus, how a Mediterranean diet is not only good for a mother, but her baby as well. And it's going to be another hot day in the 4 states. We'll have when relief will hit the area. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back.
Well, fall sports season is officially here. A few of the local high school softball programs got things started yesterday evening with a jamboree in Carthage. Joplin, Nevada, and Carl Junction, the other schools taking part. Joplin playing Nevada in the first game of the evening. Libby Munn gets things started in the second inning with a single. Later on, Riley Kelly puts a charge in one into deep left center, and it is gone. Both she and Munn are juniors on this year's Eagles team. Maximum amount, Abby Lowry, another junior, brought in two more with this RBI double. That one goes to the wall. And they'd score 5 runs in the frame. Eagles handled Nevada after that big second inning. Only played 3-inning games. Quick turnaround. Game 2 on the main field for Nevada and Carthage. Starting pitcher Lottie Youngblood with the quick reflexes to make the stop and the throw to first in time. Nevada got after her though. First, Kara Phillips lines one into the outfield. Little trouble with it out there. That let her slide into second safely. Later in the same frame, Kalea Johnson pokes one the other way. Phillips comes in to score. Carthage answers back though. RBI single sent down the line off the bat of J.C. Bayless. That brings Jenna Calhoun across the plate. Busy day on the mound for Peyton Eaton. She'd get out of the inning with a strikeout. And the summer is winding down. The window for college commitments from the class of 2024 is beginning to pick up some steam. One of those being Joplin High School's Bailey Ledford, who announces her commitment to Crowder College on Twitter Tuesday. The rising senior at Joplin is the third local commit that the Rough Riders have gotten in the past few weeks. After Shelby Underwood from Northeast and Columbus's Katie Simpson, each committed to Crowder since the beginning of August. Ledford's senior softball season at Joplin begins with the Aurora Kickoff Classic this Friday and Saturday. And more exciting career news for a former Rough Rider standout, Jacob Mizorowski, who was a part of the 2023 Rough Riders team and was recently promoted to Double-A within the Milwaukee Brewers organization. That has him playing for the Biloxi Shuckers in Mississippi, and he was just named the Southern League Player of the Week. And here's a timeline of the highlights for Mizorowski's summer. He actually began the 2023 season in Low A with Carolina, then was promoted to the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers by early June, threw 11 100-mile-an-hour fastballs in the MLB All-Star Futures game July 8th, then got named Player of the Week in the Southern League within a month of being called up. Well, still to come, a cable car meant to take students to school almost causes the death of 8 people. Plus, we're still dealing with that dangerous heat across the area. We'll take a look at that forecast when we come back. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 5:18 on this Wednesday, halfway through this just unbearable week. We're getting that much closer to Friday, that much closer to some relief in the area. Unfortunately, and we kind of saw this coming. When we looked at Friday's weather data and saw temperatures were kind of going up on the forecast eyes, I had a feeling about these excessive heat warnings, and so for Kansas and Missouri, they've been extended until 10 o'clock Friday night. They originally were going to expire tomorrow, but they will go through Friday. And Tulsa still, again, playing it 2 days at a time. So excessive heat warnings run through 8 o'clock this evening. They'll go back into effect tomorrow and run through 8 o'clock Thursday evening, but may continue to be extended. So again, the number one safety tip, if you don't have to be outside, don't. Otherwise, if your job or whatever requirement, forces you to be outside, you got to stay hydrated, take frequent breaks, limit these strenuous outdoor activities, wear lightweight, light-colored clothing, and check on the elderly and pets. I know you're tired of us regurgitating that information, but we've got to put those safety tips out there. And believe me, I am going to be so excited when I don't have to show you this every single time when we finally cool back down. So again, heat index values today, 110 to 120. Heat exhaustion likely, heat stroke is possible. You've got to make sure you're playing it safe. Now, kids getting on the bus this morning at 7 7 a.m. We're looking at partly cloudy skies and 77, and we're going to have increasing clouds. We're looking at mostly cloudy skies through the majority of our day. That keeps our temperatures down a couple of degrees. Unfortunately, it doesn't do anything with the humidity. That's why we're holding on to those excessive heat warnings. We'll be 94 by 3 o'clock. Right now, we have got partly cloudy skies, mostly clear skies, but again, the clouds will continue to increase. Sitting at 82 in Joplin, feels like 88. Dew point, humidity, both up there. Dew point's down just a little bit from where it has been. We got 78 Iola, Iola Yates Center, 81 Fort Scott, Nevada, Lamar, 78 in Pittsburgh, 80 in Parsons, 79 Miami, Neosho. So another warm start, and our dew points again in the mid to upper 70s out there. The good news is this morning we're not seeing any 80-degree dew points, but we're still in that soupy range across the 4 states, and that's giving us heat index values. Feels like 86 Nevada, Lamar, Carthage, 88 what it feels like in Fort Scott. So another hot start for us. Now as we get our morning started, again, we're going to have the increasing clouds. We're going to be mostly cloudy through the day. So this kicks our temperatures back as we update these graphics, of course, every day. So yesterday's numbers, we're about a degree cooler thanks to the clouds and what we were yesterday. So that's what I'm saying. Not a significant impact. Upper 80s by late morning. Mostly cloudy skies through the day. Highs once again upper 90s. We'll see a few more upper 90s and a few less lower 100s, but we'll still see some of those triple-digit temperatures out there. We'll maintain the mostly cloudy skies through the evening. That's supposed to be mostly cloudy as well. I just apparently did not have enough coffee this morning when I put this together. And we're going to go once again upper 70s and lower 80s across the area. So again, alert days continue through Friday. Triple digits continue through at least Friday as well. And then we get into the weekend. We start to see pop-up thunderstorm chances Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So not everybody's going to get rain, but at least there's some rain chances out there. And on top of that, look at these temperatures. Yeah, still hot Saturday, mid-90s. After that, we're talking mid to upper 80s as we head into the next work week. So the relief is on the way. We're just that much closer. That's a quick check of your forecast. We'll be back with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, the Mediterranean diet, simple, plant-based cooking, has already been shown to lead to a healthier heart and longer life. Now, a new study has found mothers who follow the diet while pregnant could improve their children's cognitive, social, and emotional development. Researchers looked at more than 1,200 risk mothers in a randomized clinical trial. Some of the mothers followed the Mediterranean diet. Others were assigned to yoga and mindfulness sessions. In a follow-up session 2 years after the women gave birth, the babies whose mother followed the Mediterranean diet had higher cognition. And the FDA has approved the first vaccine to protect infants against RSV. It would be given during a woman's pregnancy so the antibodies could be passed on to newborns. Michael George reports.
The FDA green-lighted a vaccine to help one of the most vulnerable populations, babies. Pfizer's Abrezvo vaccine is the first to protect against RSV, or respiratory syncytial virus.
Infants are very high risk for RSV. They have less mature immune systems, they have smaller airways, so they get into trouble more quickly if there's inflammation or mucus in the airways.
The maternal vaccine would be given between 32 and 36 weeks of pregnancy and protect newborns for 6 months.
The idea is to vaccinate early enough that you provide the protection of the baby, but late enough that there aren't significant risks associated.
A clinical trial at Cincinnati Children's Hospital involved more than 7,000 pregnant people, including Melissa Squires, a doctor at the hospital and mother of 2.
I'm always looking for ways to really optimize the health of my children.
Last RSV season was longer and more severe than usual, overwhelming hospitals in many places across the country. The CDC says more than 2 million children under age 5 get RSV each year. Up to 80,000 are hospitalized and 300 die. In addition to protecting babies, this new RSV vaccine may provide moms like Squires peace of mind.
It means that we have yet another tool to help keep babies safe and healthy, especially during that first year of life where they are so fragile and so vulnerable to so many viruses.
The vaccine is expected to be available by fall. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
The FDA is requiring Pfizer to conduct further studies to assess the risk and preterm birth and hyperextensive disorders of pregnancy, including preeclampsia. People over the age of 60 are also at high risk for RSV. The FDA approved Abrezvo for those older adults back in May. There's also an approved antibody shot that can be given to infants after birth. And that's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And you can copy and paste the forecast right here as we continue alert days and excessive heat warnings across the area. The good news is relief is on the way, and we'll talk about all of that in your full forecast here in a few more minutes. We'll be right back.
Right now at 5:30, we'll take you out to Fort Scott to learn about a new mural that was recently finished in the town.
And our alert days continue with excessive heat warnings continuing and dangerous heat index values. We'll take a look at that forecast coming up.
Plus, the Area Agency on Aging partners with a local pizzeria to help raise funds for Meals on Wheels.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 5:30 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
I'm Chris Warner, so I left my dirty coffee cup out of sight.
Thank you. I think it looks cleaner.
Honestly, it does. I need to wipe all this down again today, but it does help, I suppose. And today's a good day for iced coffee once again, and a good day to stay inside as we continue to have the excessive heat warnings. And unfortunately, kind of expected this, waited to see it happen, and it has. The excessive heat warnings in Kansas and Missouri now extended through 10 o'clock Friday night. They were originally set to expire tomorrow night, but again, the forecast data continued to suggest Friday was going to be a little hotter than we wanted it to be. And Tulsa, again, still playing it a couple days at a time. So excessive heat warnings northeast Oklahoma through 8 o'clock this evening, and then they'll kick back in tomorrow and run through 8 o'clock tomorrow evening. But again, not unlikely or not unexpected that they'll probably be extended. You got to stay hydrated, take frequent breaks if you have to be outside. And of course, if you don't limit the strenuous outdoor activities, wear lightweight, light-colored clothing, and check on elderly pets and the children, as heat index values again today 110 to 120 degrees, and heat exhaustion likely, heat stroke possible out there, so you've got to take this heat seriously. But the good news is we're almost out of it. Kids getting on the bus this morning, 77 at 7 a.m. under partly cloudy skies, and by the time they get home at 3, we're looking at mostly cloudy skies. We're talking about mid-90s heat index values, 105 to 110, so still hot. Again, relief is on the way, and we will have another full look at your forecast here in a few more minutes. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. Well, there will soon be a new mural in front of Fort Scott honoring a special group of soldiers. Artist Kababi Bay Hawk is in town painting a mural honoring the 1st Kansas Colored Infantry. The regiment served in the Union Army during the Civil War and was the first black regiment organized in a northern state.
I knew the flag would go in the center, but as far as the other elements, especially thinking about what is going on now in today's climate, I wanted to have one other man holding an American flag just because of how many times black folks have fought for this country in order to feel like folks would treat us better, give us the respect, give us the rights we wanted.
The mural is on the north end of Main Street overlooking the fort. It's expected to be finished by Friday or Saturday. And the Area Agency on Aging is partnering with a local pizzeria to raise funds to support senior citizens in the community. The 3rd annual Slice for Seniors is taking place at Gusano's in Joplin. Until 7 yesterday, 20% of all sales go to the local Meals on Wheels program that provides free meals to senior citizens.
Many businesses that support us, that know the need of our older adults. We actually had some pre-orders from some local businesses. We have already sent out 45 to 50 pizzas before Gusano's even opened this morning.
This is the first year that Slices for Seniors has been held at Gusano's. Diamond, Missouri kicks off their new school year with the help of some special guests. The Diamond Area Fire Protection District firefighters station themselves outside the school with fire trucks and emergency vehicles to remind drivers school is in session. It's also a reminder about the new law that went into effect this summer in Missouri. It is illegal to drive while holding a phone.
You're not supposed to have the phone in your hand and talking at all on it, or texting is my understanding of it. You've got to have it set down where you're not even at your hands off.
The Diamond Area firefighters will station themselves outside the school entrances for the first 2 days of school. And Freeman Health System yesterday prepared for the possibility of a crisis. They hosted a crisis management seminar. It was aimed at educating physicians, nurses, and EMS professionals about the proper response and management of scenarios like mass shootings, natural disasters, and chemical or radiologic exposures.
We look at the initial response, how we're responding, the medications we're using, but we go through the whole gamut of how we follow up with our staff to make sure they're supported after an incident. When you look at the Joplin tornado and what so much of our staff went through, it traumatized many for years to come.
The seminar also explored responding to a crisis in an alternative location if necessary. And the city of Joplin yesterday evening hosted a welcoming reception for police chief candidates. Sloan Rollin retired from the position on June 1st. Now, after a nationwide search for candidates, the city has narrowed down its list to 4 finalists: Richard Pearson, Philip Lukens, Jeffrey Lofton, and Brian Lewis. Yesterday's event was a change for the public to get to know them.
Particularly interested in hearing about visions and goals and ideas that they might have to help improve our police department. Want to know more about their experience in dealing with some of the tough issues that our police are involved with. Want to understand their administrative abilities and how they budget and plan for the future.
The reception was held in the City Council chambers at City Hall. And a man in Weir, Kansas wants to bring awareness to handicap accessibility. KOAM's Anthony Saviello has the story.
Chris Williams was involved in a car accident in the year 2000. An accident that left him.
Basically, I'm a C5, C6 incomplete quadriplegic, so I'm paralyzed from my chest down. My left side is worse than my right side, and so I have to have help getting out of bed every day.
However, despite how he was affected by the accident, Chris told me that he is proud of the fact that he needs minimal assistance.
But once I'm in my wheelchair, I'm pretty independent. I started driving my van back in 2005, and I have a handicap van.
That van is a huge part of why Chris is able to be so independent. However, despite the technology, accessibility within the 4-state area is hard to come by.
There are specific handicap spots for vans, and they will usually say, vans only or van accessible only, and they'll even have van painted on the actual, the pavement. And so when I pull in there, a lot of times there'll be a vehicle that's a regular vehicle that's parked there. There's usually only 2 at the most, or maybe 3 actual handicap spots for vans.
The spots that Chris is talking about usually have an area striped off where Chris can lower his ramp and exit or enter his vehicle.
8 times out of 10 when I go, there's somebody in it, or somebody will park next to me, and then I can't get back into my van unless I actually have somebody with me that has to, which is not really safe, but back my van up for me.
Chris's van has special equipment in it that makes it easier for him to drive, but would not be easy for others.
I just want them to be mindful if they had a family member that was in a wheelchair, would they want them to be stuck out in the rain or snow or not be able to get back into their vehicle and leave,
It's important to understand that whether or not someone's disability prevents them from walking, their need for accessibility is crucial to making their lives easier. Reporting in Weir, I'm Anthony Saviello, KOAM News.
In both the state of Kansas and Missouri, violators of handicap parking can be issued a fine of up to $300. And this massive pride flag will make its way through the streets of Joplin in a couple of weeks for Jomo Pride Fest. We had the opportunity to see it unveiled at our station. The flag is 104 feet long and was made by Joplin resident Linnea Hansa, who says it's the largest pride flag in the 4 states region.
As a community, a lot of hours of love and dedication went into this, and I hope they can see that as they watch it march down the street. It's a big achievement for any community.
Jomo Pride Fest runs from September 8th through the 11th. The parade will take place on the 8th. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up on this half hour of the KOAM Morning News. Wolves are back in Europe. We'll hear how one shepherd is looking to solve the problem. Plus, a former Prime Minister of Thailand comes out of self-exile as the country votes for a new Prime Minister. We'll have the latest, but we first will take a live look at Fort Scott, Kansas. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, fast-moving wildfires in northern Greece take a deadly toll and prompt more evacuations. 18 burned bodies were found on Tuesday in the rural Evros region when wildfires have been raging for several days. Fire officials say some of the victims are possibly migrants who used a popular river crossing to enter Greece from Turkey. Earlier Tuesday, dozens of hospital patients, including newborn babies, were evacuated onto a ferry as fires burned near Alexandroupolis. Hundreds of fires have been burning out of control for days in northeastern Greece, with strong winds fanning the flames and prompting evacuations of villages. Thailand's controversial former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra departed his return to his home country on Tuesday. This follows a 15-year absence as he remained in self-exile. Thaksin was seen departing from Singapore for Thailand on Tuesday morning. He was ousted as prime minister in a 2006 military coup and faced accusations of corruption and a possible prison sentence. Now back in his home country, he's looking at up to 10 years in jail on corruption charges that he was convicted on while in exile. In a terrifying scene in Pakistan, a cable car was left dangling nearly 1,000 feet over a river when one of its mile-long cables broke. Inside were 8 people, including 6 children. The world watched as rescuers in a helicopter worked feverishly to find them. Rami Enociano is on this delicate operation played out.
It was supposed to be a routine morning trip to school between 2 mountains. But when a cable snapped, 6 children between the ages of 11 and 15 and 2 adults almost plunged to their death. Villagers here in Pakistan's remote northwest mountains helplessly watched as rescuers dangling from helicopters in high winds strained to reach them. The downwash from a rescue chopper shook the car violently, threatening to send it crashing into the ground nearly 1,000 feet below. This man's brother and son were inside. If the government is so helpless, he said, then it should seek help from another country. Pakistani military commandos did airlift the first child out. This jerry-rigged machine, one of countless across the mountains, meant to make life easier. But often made from scrap metal and poorly maintained, they have led to death. After night fell, authorities suspended air rescue, but on the ground, operations never stopped. Officials and locals deploying a zip line to the car and pulling everyone inside to safety. Pakistan's prime minister has demanded inspections of all makeshift cable cars in the country. Rami Inocencio, CBS News, London.
India's spacecraft is swooping toward the moon's surface ahead of its historic landing attempt. In the process, it captured some stunning visuals on the way. The Indian Space Research Organization confirmed Tuesday that the spacecraft is on schedule for landing. The spacecraft is set to begin its final descent toward the moon's surface on Wednesday. If successful, this mission will mark the very first soft landing on the lunar surface by an Indian spacecraft and make India the 4th country ever to accomplish such a feat. Currently, the United States, China, and the former Soviet Union are the only nations that have conducted controlled landings of spacecraft on the moon. And that's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 5:47 now on this Wednesday morning, halfway through this absolutely miserable week in terms of temperatures. Unfortunately, we were looking at forecast data suggesting Friday was going to be a bit hotter, and as such, excessive heat warnings, Kansas and Missouri, both extended through 10 o'clock Friday night. They were going to expire tomorrow. They go on for one more day. Tulsa still playing it 2 days at a time. So these run until 8 o'clock this evening. They'll technically expire, and then they'll go back into effect tomorrow and run through 8 o'clock Thursday evening. So again, if you don't have to be outside, don't. Otherwise, if you have to for whatever reason, stay hydrated, take frequent breaks, limit strenuous outdoor activities, wear the lightweight, light color clothing, check on elderly pets and the children. children, because at this stage we're looking at heat index values again today, 110 to 120, and so heat exhaustion is likely, heat stroke is possible, and believe me, by the time we get to next week, I won't have to show you those graphics for hopefully the rest of the summer. As kids get on the bus this morning, about 7 a.m., we're looking at 77 degrees, partly cloudy, heat index values probably into the upper 80s at that point, and then we're looking at 94 at 3 o'clock, but mostly cloudy skies. Heat index values, though, still 105 to 110, so we're expecting cloud cover to significantly increase, and that kicks our air temperature down about 2 degrees off of what we've seen, but it's not a significant impact, and therefore our humidity levels and everything will still be high enough that's why we still have the dangerous heat index values. We're at 82 in Joplin, clear skies for now, feels like 88 out there with dew point humidity up there, and as we look at temperatures around the region, 80 Fort Scott, Nevada, and Stockton, as well as Parsons, Neodesha, 78 Pittsburgh, 79 in Chanute, Miami, and Neosho, and 77 in Monette. And you factor in the dew points are roughly mid to upper 70s. We don't have any 80-degree dew points out there yet, but Nevada, Stockton getting pretty close, so we're still in that soupy to miserable range on dew points. That's given us these heat index values. Feels like 88 in Stockton, 85 Nevada and Fort Scott, 85 in Parsons, so another muggy, uncomfortable start to the day. We're going to be mostly cloudy, so again, this compared to yesterday, these temperatures, when I was updating them, they're about a degree or two cooler. So again, the clouds, unfortunately, no major impact on our temperatures. Go upper 80s, near 90 by late morning. Highs today, we will thankfully, at least with the clouds, see more temperatures upper 90s and fewer triple digits, but we're still going to see some lower 100-degree readings out there. And as we head into the evening, still hot. Mid to upper 80s by 8, mid 80s by 10. Overnight lows under mostly cloudy skies, upper 70s and lower 80s once again. So our alert days continue through Friday with the excessive heat warnings continuing through Friday. We're 102 tomorrow, 101 on Friday. So again, dangerous heat sticking around. And it's still hot Saturday, but much better. Talking 94. We have pop-up storm chances Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, so not everybody is expected to see rain, but at least we'll get some rainfall in here. And on top of that, take a look at the week ahead. Next work week, we're talking mid to upper 80s for our highs, so some significant relief is on the way. Just a few more days, and we'll all get there together. We'll be right back after this, but first we're going to take another live look from Fort Scott.
Wolves are making a comeback in Europe, but not everyone is happy. So a new kind of shepherd is roaming the mountains to make sure everyone gets along. Ian Lee reports.
A battle of life or death is playing out in the Swiss Alps. Shepherd Mathis von Sippenthal and his trusty dog keep an eye on their grazing sheep. That's because wolves roam these mountains.
Mostly it's like the wolf is coming for 2-3 days and then he's gone.
Vigilance is key here, not only to save Mathis's 480 sheep, but the wolves too. The predators are making a comeback in many European countries after being wiped out over a century ago. Volunteers help keep watch, camping out with night vision goggles and a sturdy heart, ready to cry wolf at a moment's notice. You can't be scared. One person tracks the wolves while the other approaches them with a powerful flashlight and whistle to chase them away, says this cardiologist. Last year, wolves killed nearly 1,500 animals in Switzerland, so hundreds of volunteers try to keep the peace. We deterred wolves from flocks 32 times, and these are situations where attacks could have happened, he says. For Mathis, the extra help gives him peace of mind that his sheep and livelihood are safe.
For me, it's such a big help because, I'm nearly the whole day outside with them and herding them, and then I bring them back. Then it's nice to go down and have a rest.
Coming together to make sure man, sheep, and wolf can live in harmony in these majestic mountains. Ian Lee, CBS News.
Since the first pack was spotted in Switzerland in 2012, the number has swelled to some 250 individual wolves. We'll be right back. Leakin Park Zoo is excited to welcome a new black and white addition this summer. After confirming the pregnancy via hormone analysis earlier this year, on August 21st, 16-year-old gravy zebra Adia gave birth to a healthy, strong female fowl. Both Adia and the newborn have been doing well and continue to be closely monitored by expert animal care and veterinary staff. The foal is Adia's 5th offspring and 3rd with sire Wester. She joins 3 other zebras, including mom and dad, and the zoo, and can be found at camel and zebra area. The yet-to-be-named fowl is easy to spot with reddish-brown stripes that will only turn black once she is older. She was born weighing just over 105 pounds and will grow to be around 850 pounds when she's an adult. And can you spot the difference on this giraffe? Bright Zoo in Limestone, Tennessee is welcoming the world's rarest giraffe. The animal was born last month and is completely spotless. The zoo says the female giraffe is 6 feet tall and is being taken care of by staff and her mother. The zoo is seeking the public's help to decide the rare giraffe's name, with the contest down to 4 options: Kipuke, Feryali, Shakiri, and Jamela.
We've got alert days continuing through Friday with excessive heat warnings continuing through Friday. As we get our morning started, we are mostly cloudy, and that doesn't really do much for our temperatures. It kicks them down maybe a degree or 2 from the last couple of days. We're going to go upper 80s by 11. We're looking at highs upper 90s, a few more of those, but still some lower 100s out there as well. And heat index values today anywhere from 110 to 120, so dangerous heat continues. Mostly cloudy through the evening, still hot out there and warm overnight as we go back into the upper 70s and lower 80s. And again, excessive heat continues through Friday, triple digits through Friday as well. 102 tomorrow, 101 Friday. And then Saturday, still hot, mid-90s, but pop-up storms Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and temperatures by next week dropping back into the mid to upper 80s. We'll be back with more right after this.
Right now at 6, Joplin police release the name of the victim of a shooting over the weekend.
Our alert days continue as excessive heat warnings continue. Relief is on the way. We'll talk about your forecast and how hot it's going to be today coming up.
Plus, some Joplin parents express concerns about school bus delays. We'll have what you need to know.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 6 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
I'm Chris Warner. So we have another round of alert days, another round of excessive heat warnings out there as this dangerous heat continues across the 4 states. But some good news.
Let's hear it.
I cleaned my coffee cup. We were talking about this at 5 o'clock. It had some coffee stains on it. Yes. She did not approve, so I have wiped it down. I'll bring it back and you can reassess the coffee cup a little
hopefully
later.
you're properly caffeinated because you got a lot to go over with this
We
weather
certainly
here.
do, and that's some of the other great news, though, is we do still have that relief on the way, and we're halfway through the work week, meaning we are that much closer to a much better weekend and week ahead. But until then, excessive heat warnings, we knew the temperatures Friday were looking like they were going to be a little hotter than what we wanted them to be. That's continuing to hold. So Kansas, Missouri, those have been extended now until 10 o'clock Friday night. They were originally set to expire tomorrow night at 10. And then Tulsa, again, still playing it 2 days at a time as these go until 8 p.m. this evening, and then they will technically expire, and they'll go back into effect tomorrow morning and run until 8 p.m. Thursday. But again, for Kansas and Missouri, the Wichita and Springfield offices just said, you know what, we're just going to blanket this, and these run until 10 o'clock Friday night. All right, now, as we take a look, we want to remind you, and I'm looking forward to next week, you are all too, where we can take these graphics and bury them and hopefully never bring them out again, at least hopefully not until next summer. We got to remind you, stay hydrated, take frequent breaks, limit the strenuous outdoor activities, wear lightweight, light-colored clothing, check on elderly pets and the children out there. And of course, if you don't have to be outside, don't, because our heat index values today, once again, 110 to 120. Heat exhaustion is likely, heat stroke possible out there. And again, I know Joplin schools, no outdoor recess the rest of the week for the elementary age kids. And as I mentioned yesterday, I suspect many other districts taking similar precautions for this week. Kids getting on the bus this morning, 77. Heat index values probably in the upper 80s, near 90 by 7 a.m. Partly cloudy. Our clouds will increase. We're going to be mostly cloudy today, and that helps make our temperatures about 1 to 2 degrees cooler than where they were yesterday. So not a significant impact, unfortunately. We're going to go right around the mid-90s by 3 o'clock. Heat index values by the time they get off that bus, 105 to 110 out there. Again, relief is on the way. We're going to take another complete look at your forecast here in a few more minutes. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. A man is facing charges after a missing and endangered child from Indiana was found in Commerce, Oklahoma. Authorities say Jonathan Juarez was arrested on charges of first-degree rape, possession of child pornography, and harboring a juvenile runaway. Juarez was booked into the Ottawa County Jail. According to the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, a federal hold has been placed on Juarez pending additional charges. A 70-year-old guard is safe after inmates took him hostage in a St. Louis jail. They took him at 6 yesterday morning, but freed the guard hours later after a SWAT team intervened. The guard suffered minor injuries and was treated at a hospital. Authorities say less than lethal ammunition was used on the inmates, but did not elaborate. The abduction was the latest of several acts of violence inside the jail, known as the City Justice Center, which holds nearly 700 inmates. Advocates for inmates have long complained about conditions at the jail. A newly released video of a police raid on the home of a 98-year-old Kansas woman shows a woman confronting officers.
Don't you touch any of that stuff. Ma'am, this is my house.
It was posted on the Marion County Record newspaper's website. John Mayer co-owned the newspaper with her son, Eric Meyer. They also shared the home, but he was not home during the police raid. Joan Mayer died the next day. Her son believes stress from the raid contributed to her death, and the security video shows at least 6 law enforcement officials conducting the nearly 2-hour search on August 11th. A prosecutor said later that there was insufficient evidence of a crime to justify the raids at the home and at the newspaper office. We now know the identity of the victim in a weekend Joplin shooting. The shooting happened around 1:30 Sunday morning in the 500 block of Joplin Avenue. Authorities have identified the victim as 21-year-old Keza Clark of Joplin. They say he's in stable condition. JPD is asking anyone with information to come forward. The Labette County Sheriff's Office is investigating the suspicious death of a Parsons police canine. Parsons police officials say the canine named Kareem was put into his kennel Monday after working a 12-hour shift and was tended to as normal. His handler then went to sleep, and when he woke up, he found Kareem unresponsive. Kareem was a 4-year-old Belgian Malinois that's been with the department since 2021 as part of their narcotics department. His body was sent to the Kansas State University School of Veterinary Medicine for an autopsy. To be the first to see breaking news, weather, and sports, download the KOAM News app. It's available free of charge in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Just search for the KOAM News app. And Joplin students are back to school, but they might be arriving for classes a little bit late. District officials say the cause is something many other school systems are also facing. Fernanda Silva has the story.
Amber Ross waited for her kids for over 1 hour inside the car on the first days of school. The reason? The bus her kids take was late. But still, she was thankful.
I'm glad I have air conditioning in my car right now.
The delay affects not only Ross' kids.
My youngest, it's his first year on the bus, so I know he is nervous.
But also her barbershop business.
I have to schedule my appointments around the buses, and when they aren't on time, it affects that as well.
Officials says 2 routes are delayed, but others are also having delaying issues.
Right now it is 3 p.m. and 190, one of the routes that is being affected by the shortage of bus drivers, should be leaving this school, but still didn't even make it here.
Be patient with us. We're trying our best, and like I said, our driver's #1 focus is safety. We know it's hot, and we want to get kids off the bus, but at the same time, we don't want to drop a kid at a wrong stop, or we don't want to drop a kid too far away from their destinations.
The district doesn't have a specific number of full-time positions to be filled, but encourages anyone interested in applying to join the 54 current bus drivers. They will especially be needed when extra activities start.
Parents are being warned about the delays through text messages. District officials expect the situation to improve in the upcoming weeks. If you'd like to apply, you can find more information on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes, coming up on the KOAM Morning News. While some of us are lucky enough to work from an air conditioner, others are forced to work in extreme heat. Plus, we learn about the economic toll caused by those deadly wildfires in Maui. And Chris Warner returns with another look at your Wednesday forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back, but first, here's a live look from Fort Scott, Kansas, as we took a look at a new mural in the town. Topping Nation Watch this morning, Special Counsel Jack Smith's office is investigating alleged false statements in Trump's Mar-a-Lago case. 2 Trump employees are accused of giving false testimony to a grand jury as part of the criminal probe into former President Trump's retention of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. That's according to a court filing by prosecutors Tuesday. The filing is the most specific indication of what prosecutors are focusing on since indictments were handed up in the case. According to the filing, prosecutors believe Yeskel Taveras, an IT worker who has not been charged, and Carlos de Oliveira, the property manager of Mar-a-Lago, charged alongside Trump, gave false testimony about alleged efforts to delete incriminating security camera footage from the Florida club. Prosecutors say that Taveras, referred to in court documents only as Trump Employee 4, repeatedly denied or claimed not to recall any contacts or conversations about the security footage at Mar-a-Lago, despite evidence to the contrary. And the secretary of the Smithsonian Institute is apologizing for its tens of thousands of human body parts. Lonnie G. Bunch III has an op-ed out in the Washington Post after the paper reported on the remains at the Natural History Museum. Most of them are from Black and Indigenous people and were taken without their consent. The Post reports an anthropologist gathered many of them for debunked theories that white people were superior to people of color. The Smithsonian now has a policy of returning unethically acquired remains. And we are learning about the economic toll caused by those deadly wildfires in Maui, Hawaii. Moody's estimates the losses could range between $4 and $6 billion. The fires killed at least 115 people and destroyed countless homes and businesses. Moody's estimates the insurance will cover about 75% of the property losses, and it says Maui's recovery will be long and expensive. Analysts say construction costs about 44% more on the island compared to the mainland. While some of us are lucky enough to work from an air-conditioned office or at home, mail carriers, construction workers, and many more people have jobs that require them to work outside even when it's 100 degrees. Michael George has more on a new push for federal safety standards to protect those workers.
From construction crews to landscapers to mail carriers, many Americans have no choice but to work outside in the brutal heat.
It's been very difficult.
Brian Renfro, president of the National Association of Letter Carriers, says it's not just uncomfortable, it's dangerous.
The majority of our days are outdoors. We are also in our vehicles, many of which are not air conditioned. So, there's not really any protection.
There are currently no federal safety standards specifically protecting people working outside in extreme heat.
The ability for workers to take breaks, have access to climate-controlled areas, to hydrate.
OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, is considering new federal heat safety standards, but any action on them is likely years away. And not everyone is on board. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce wrote a letter to OSHA asking them to consider the impact new guidelines would have on businesses, writing, quote, "Our members have found, however, that it is extraordinarily difficult for them to determine when heat presents a hazard because each employee experiences heat differently." Without any mandated federal protection, some states, including California, Minnesota, and Washington, and some unions, are stepping in. Gary LaBarbera, president of the New York Building and Trades Council, represents more than 220,000 construction workers.
We ensure that our members are educated and made aware of the signs and symptoms of heat exhaustion and heat stroke. And we ensure that there's adequate water on the site.
And with climate change pushing temperatures higher, more employers may need to take action soon. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
The CDC data says more than 1,000 Americans die every year due to extreme heat, and experts say the number is likely even higher because of the difficulty collecting data on heat-related deaths. That's a look at some of today's top national stories. Now here's Chris Warner with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, we are continuing with our alert days through Friday as excessive heat warnings continue all the way through Friday as well. Heat index values today 110 to 120, so dangerous heat sticking around. We'll have another full look at your forecast and when the relief will get here in about 6.5 minutes.
A beloved Beefy franchise returns, a jazz legend gets a tribute, and a triple treat for fans of heavy metal animation. David Daniel has it all in today's Hollywood Minute.
Oh, hey, Jackson! Hey, man, you almost car-burgered me to death.
Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell reunite in the first teaser for Good Burger 2, returning as Dexter and Ed in a sequel to the 1997 feature film. It's set to debut on Paramount Plus this fall.
Jazz is like saying, once upon a time, and then fill in the blanks.
Saxophonist, composer, and bandleader Wayne Shorter shattered the limits of jazz in a career lasting more than 60 years. Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity, charts the legend's life from adversity to greatness. The documentary, executive produced by Brad Pitt, debuts Friday on Prime Video.
What is the Song of Salvation?
Nobody knows.
Well, do we at least know the running time?
Nobody knows.
Does we at least know what keys it ends in?
The Adult Swim heavy metal adventure Metalocalypse is back as an animated movie. Metalocalypse, Army of the Doomstar, sends the band on an all-new journey. The film is out today on digital and Blu-ray. 2 new full-length albums, Death Clock's Death Album 4 and the movie's soundtrack, also come out this week. Headbanging in Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
I love the nostalgia. The Good Burger. I used to watch that on Nickelodeon Saturday nights. Very cool. Well, now let's take it over to Chris for weather.
Yeah, we've got ourselves the alert days continuing through Friday as excessive heat warnings continue through Friday. But as I've mentioned, there's relief on the way. We're going to take a full look at your forecast in about 2 minutes. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on this Wednesday morning, 622. Our alert days continue through Friday. We knew Friday was looking like it could be a little hotter than what we wanted it to be, and unfortunately, that's going to be the case. So, Kansas, Missouri, excessive heat warnings extended through Friday at 10 o'clock. Originally set to expire tomorrow, but they have been extended through Friday. Tulsa, again, still playing it 2 days at a time. So these will run until 8 p.m. tonight, and then they'll technically expire, and they'll go back into effect tomorrow and run through 8 p.m. on Thursday. Of course, the number one safety tip out there with this heat is to just simply stay indoors. But as we mentioned in that story just a few minutes ago, not everybody has that luxury. If you've got to be out there, you got to stay hydrated, take frequent breaks, limit strenuous outdoor activities, wear lightweight, light-colored clothing, check on the elderly and pets as our heat index values today. Again, 110 to 120 degrees out there, so heat exhaustion is likely and heat stroke is possible. Kids getting on the bus this morning, going to be another warm one. We're looking at 77 by 7 a.m., partly cloudy. Heat index values probably pushing close to 90 as we head into the afternoon. We're just a pinch cooler because we're going to be cloudy through the majority of our day. In fact, we're going to be mostly cloudy all day, and that kicks our temperatures down about a degree or two. So not a significant impact, but we'll be mid-90s, heat index values 105 to 110, maybe a little higher this afternoon. And we're at 81 in Joplin, feels like 86. Right now our skies are clear, but clouds are expected to increase over the next few hours. Temperatures around the region, 76 in Iola, 77 in Yates Center, 78 Fort Scott, Pittsburgh, 80 in Parsons, Neodesha, 77 Chetopa, Miami, 80 Carthage and Lamar as well. You factor in the dew points, which are sitting in the mid to upper 70s. They are rising because now Nevada, Stockton, both dew points at 80. That puts us in the soupy to miserable range on the dew point tracker here. And that gives us heat index values 87 in Stockton, 84 Greenfield, feels like 82 Chanute, 83 Neodesha, feels like 85 in Parsons. As we get our morning started, as I mentioned, clouds increase. Doesn't do much for our temperatures. We'll go upper 80s, near 90 by late morning. Highs today, we'll see a few more, thanks to the clouds. We'll see a few more of the upper 90s and a few less of the lower 100s, but we're still looking at some lower 100s out there. And again, heat index values pushing again close to 120. We'll have mostly cloudy skies and hot through the evening and warm overnight, upper 70s, lower 80s. And again, alert days continue through Friday with those excessive heat warnings, 102 Thursday, 101 on Friday. And then here it finally comes. We got just a couple more days here. Saturday, still technically hot, mid-90s. We have pop-up storm chances Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, so not everybody's going to get rain, but at least some of us will get some rain and thunderstorm chances. But look what happens after Saturday. We've got highs mid to upper 80s, and that will be the trend all the way through the end of next week, where we start to get close to the low 90s. So again, about 90 is our average for this time of year. Excuse me. So these temperatures, they're going to feel great out there. And look at these overnight lows back into the low to mid 60s. You're going to be able to give your AC a break, open up the windows overnight. We just got to get through a few more days. Make sure you're continuing to take those precautions now through Friday, and then we'll all be able to celebrate next week with some much more pleasant weather. Let's check your forecast. Now we're going to send it over to Caitlin with a check of Health Watch.
Thanks, Chris. Well, fewer than half the people worldwide who have suffered a heart attack or stroke are taking a daily aspirin, despite evidence showing it can prevent a second heart attack. Researchers at Washington University and the University of Michigan found that only 16% of people in low-income countries were taking aspirin. In lower middle-income countries, it increased to 24%, and upper middle countries, it's 51%. In high-income countries, including the U.S., 65% of people who had a prior heart attack or stroke take a daily aspirin. And they don't just teach new skills or a new language. Adult education classes can also protect against cognitive decline. That's according to a new study out of Japan showing participants who took them had a 19% lower risk of developing dementia. And the classes keep up their fluid intelligence and nonverbal reasoning. However, it didn't appear to have any effect on reaction time or preservation of visual spatial memory. And children's mental health and well-being have gradually worsened over the past 6 years, but appears to have been exacerbated by the pandemic. Researchers measured well-being by looking at, among other things, happiness, cognitive engagement, and emotional regulation. It found reduced physical activity and increased social media use worsened well-being of children. As a look at some of today's top health stories, we'll be right back. Right now at 6:30, a Joplin pizzeria and a nonprofit join forces to help seniors during these blistering summer days.
And we continue our alert days through Friday with heat index values close to 120 again today. Relief is on the way. We'll have a look at your forecast coming up.
Plus, we'll take you to Fort Scott to learn about a new mural that was recently finished in town.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 6:29 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
I'm Chris Warner. So it again is dangerously hot across the area, and the good news is it's Wednesday, and this heat will be done by Friday. I guess technically by Saturday. We just have a couple more days to get through, but boy, it's going to feel like forever to get from here to there as our excessive heat warnings continue. Friday temperatures, we talked about it yesterday, looked like they were going to be a little hotter than what we want them to be, and that does seem to still be the case. So Kansas, Missouri, excessive heat warnings extended now through Friday at 10 p.m. Originally set to expire tomorrow at 10, but they have been extended. Now Tulsa, again, still playing it 2 days at a time. What I mean is when they issue their excessive heat warnings, they put an expiration time out for today and for the next day. So they've been playing it 2 days at a time here. So these will technically expire at 8 o'clock this evening, and they'll go back into effect tomorrow morning and run through 8 o'clock Thursday evening. But again, wouldn't be surprised if we see them extended as well. So next week, we'll be able to file these graphics and hopefully never pull them out again. But until we get through Friday, we got to remind you, if you have to be outdoors, which we don't recommend at all, but as we've mentioned, some jobs you can't avoid it. You need to stay hydrated, take frequent breaks, limit strenuous outdoor activities, wear lightweight, light-colored clothing, and check on the elderly, pets, and children out there. Because with heat index values 110 to 120, that puts us back here. Heat exhaustion is likely, heat stroke is possible, and for the susceptible age groups and populations, heat stroke still can become highly likely even in this zone as well. So make sure you're taking appropriate precautions. As we head into the morning, kids getting on the bus about 7 a.m. We're looking at partly cloudy skies, mostly clear, partly cloudy. Upper 70s, heat index values pushing close to about 90. And then when the bus brings them back home, boy, it's going to be hot. Now we're going to be mostly cloudy. Clouds are expected to increase through the morning. The cloud cover, yeah, it makes our temperatures about a degree or two cooler, so no significant impact, unfortunately. We're looking mid-90s by 3 o'clock and heat index values by this afternoon in that 105 to 115 range, depending on where you are out there. So still dangerous heat to contend with. As I mentioned, there's relief on the way. It's coming by this weekend. We'll take a look at that full forecast here in a few more minutes. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. The Freeman Business Center held a crisis management seminar yesterday. The seminar is designed to provide continuing education for physicians, advanced practice providers, nurses, and EMS professionals. Over the course of the day, healthcare workers could learn more about management of critical care needs during natural and intentional disasters, as well as how to manage the ICU setting for evacuation and coordination purposes.
Critical care support. This is the trauma support from the clinical side and the incident command side of it. We're looking at how we cope with disasters after they happen, the crisis response, the mental health, behavioral health part of it for our staff.
The seminar ran from 8 yesterday morning until 5. The city of Joplin yesterday hosted a welcoming reception for police chief candidates. Sloan Rollin is the current chief, but he retired on June 1st. Now, after a nationwide search for candidates, the city has narrowed down its list to 4 finalists: Richard Pearson, Philip Lukens, Jeffrey Lofton, and Brian Lewis. Yesterday's event was a chance for the public to get to know them.
Do a nationwide search. What that does for us is that ensures that we're at least looking at all the different candidates that might be able to help our community and help our police department. And so we did a nationwide search. Got a number of great applicants. They've got a wide variety of different experiences and backgrounds, and so there's plenty of different options to choose from.
The reception was held in the City Council chambers at City Hall. This massive pride flag will make its way through the streets of Joplin in a couple of weeks for Jomo Pride Fest. We had the opportunity to see it unveiled at our station. The flag is 104 feet long and was made by Joplin resident Linnea Hansaw, who says it's the largest pride flag in the 4 states region.
As a community, a lot of hours of love and dedication went into this, and I hope they can see that as they watch it march down the street. It's a big achievement for any community.
Jomo Pride Fest runs from September 8th through the 11th. The parade will take place on the 8th. Kansas will soon have a new mural honoring a group of Civil War soldiers. Artist Kababi Bay Hawk began work in Fort Scott on a mural honoring the 1st Kansas Colored Infantry. Bay Hawk says his hope is the mural will shed light on this special group of soldiers.
I hope they're just interested in reading more about their story, just to find out, this missing legacy that people knew about but hasn't been told. So even if this just sparks their interest, because the word 1st Kansas will be in there, so maybe even just seeing that, they'll Google it.
The mural is on the north end of Main Street overlooking the fort. It's expected to be finished by Friday or Saturday. Diamond, Missouri kicks off their new school year with the help of some special guests. The Diamond Area Fire Protection District firefighters station themselves outside the school with fire trucks and emergency vehicles to remind drivers school is in session. It's a good reminder, even for parents, to take it slow in a school zone.
The parents need to be a lookout on when they bring their kids to school, because the school is doing a different routing for their cars that come in and drop the kids off and to pick up. Also, the kids that are walking need to be careful and diligent about looking both ways before they're crossing the streets. That's the most important thing.
The Diamond Area firefighters will be outside the school entrances for the first 2 days of school. And the Area Agency on Aging is partnering with a local pizzeria to raise funds for senior citizens. The 3rd annual Slice for Seniors took place in Gusano's in Joplin. From 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., 20% of all the sales went to the local Meals on Wheels program that gives senior citizens free meals.
We deliver about 250,000 meals to older adults who cannot, for whatever reason, either access nutrition regularly or are geographically isolated, if they live out in the county, or just can't drive or stand long enough to prepare a meal.
This is the first year that Slices for Seniors was held at Gusano's. And a man in Weir County is making his voice heard for those in need of accessibility. Chris Williams is AC5 quadriplegic, Who wants to bring awareness to those who use handicap parking spaces? Many may not know that certain spaces are designed for specific vehicles and that the area that is striped off around it is not to be used by other vehicles such as bikes and motorcycles. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. After more than a month of negotiations, the United Auto Workers Union are voting on a strike authorization.
Plus, our alert days continue as we deal with the extreme heat across the 4 states. We've got relief on the way. We'll take a look at that forecast when we come back. But first, we're going to take another live look at that new mural in Fort Scott.
In Consumer Watch this morning, after more than a month of negotiations between the United Auto Workers Union and Detroit's Big Three automakers, union workers in Lansing are voting on a strike authorization. Diana Giles reports.
After more than a month of negotiations, the United Auto Workers are voting to authorize a strike if it comes down to it.
I think at this point, with the EV transition happening, if we don't lock down the jobs, our careers are gone.
Mara Darlin has worked for General Motors for 7 years, along with generations in her family before her.
I cannot keep up with the cost of living the way they could. They were supporting an entire family with one person working there. You cannot do that anymore.
Many UAW members demanding more support, benefits, and wages that they say match the rate of inflation. Brian Williams has worked at the Lansing Grand River Assembly for more than 25 years.
We've been a single income family my whole life. I've worked and my wife was a stay-at-home mom, and this is the kind of job you used to be able to do that, and not anymore.
Many of them saying they are prepared for a potential strike. On the other hand, according to the Anderson Economic Group, a potential 10-day strike on the Big Three automakers could mean a $5 billion economic loss and is likely to impact the amount and price of cars for consumers.
That's just not a good thing for the residents of our state. It's not a good thing for our state's economic competitiveness and our nation's economic competitiveness. So we hope that that would be the last resort.
Support that they say their families depend on. In Lansing, Deanna Giles, News 10.
Voting closed at 8 p.m. yesterday. The results of that vote are expected sometime today. And UPS workers have overwhelmingly voted to ratify a new 5-year contract agreement, averting a potential strike. The deal includes significant pay increases, air conditioning in new trucks, and thousands of new full-time jobs. The president of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters says the contract will improve the lives of hundreds of thousands of workers. And U.S. Customs and Border Protection says it seized nearly $400,000 worth of fake Apple Watches and wireless headphones. The devices were found in multiple shipments at Ontario International Airport and the Los Angeles Long Beach Seaport in mid-July. Customs officials are warning people to protect themselves by purchasing electronics at legitimate stores and authorized resellers, and to avoid third-party websites and person-to-person resale sites. And finally, StubHub has released its college football preview with a list of the most in-demand teams and games this 2023 season. Alabama Crimson Tide, the Michigan Wolverines, and Notre Dame Fighting Irish round out the top 3 in-demand teams, while the most in-demand game will be when the Ohio State Buckeyes play Notre Dame on September 23rd. That's it for Consumer Watch. Now here's Chris Warner with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, we do continue with alert days all the way through Friday, with excessive heat warnings continuing through Friday for the majority of us. There is relief on the way, and that'll come as soon as this weekend, but boy, it's going to feel like forever between now and then. We'll take another full look at your forecast in just a moment. It's also almost time to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. Those are coming up after the break. But first, these fine folks in New York getting ready for CBS Mornings. Let's see what they've got coming up on CBS Mornings.
Hello to you, I'm Gayle King. Coming up on CBS Mornings, rising American tennis star, that's Chris Eubanks on your screen, turn heads with his incredible run at Wimbledon. He'll join us in studio to tell us if he can keep this momentum going at the U.S. Open. That's coming right up on CBS Mornings.
Time for some Wednesday birthdays across the 4 states. We're going to begin in Chautauqua with Brylan Midget celebrating birthday number 3. Happy birthday, Brylan.
And over in Parsons, Kansas, happy 4th birthday to Maxton Collins. It says here he's going to be a future bull rider. All right, giddy up, cowboy.
Also in Parsons, we've got Connor Largent celebrating birthday number 15. Happy birthday, Connor.
And happy 15th birthday to Tanner O'Banion. Love your mama.
And in Pittsburgh, Nia Imhoff celebrating the Sweet 16. A very happy birthday to you, Nia.
And happy 17th birthday in Sheldon, Missouri to Lane Nuding.
And we've got Tori Miller celebrating birthday number 30. A very happy birthday to you, Tori. And it says here it's love from Mom and Dad, Ray, and Oren.
Over in Parsons, we have Eric Steves celebrating his 35th birthday. Happy birthday, Eric.
And Billy Casey with the catch of the day, celebrating another year wiser. Happy birthday to you, Billy.
Taking it over to Galesburg, Kansas. Happy 59th birthday to Fred Robinson.
And Jane Ann Turner celebrating number 77 in Columbus. A very happy birthday to you.
We have another Columbus birthday. Happy birthday to Sue Cook.
And in Frontenac, we've got Mike McCulloch celebrating another birthday this year. Happy birthday, Mike.
And happy 17th birthday to Garrett Mathis.
And Garrett, of course, in Oronogo. Very happy birthday. And of course, yesterday's list was fantastic. This list, not so bad. We want to keep seeing them get bigger and better with more pictures. Caitlin, what do they need to do?
All you need to do is submit your birthdays and anniversaries to birthdays@KOAMnewsnow.com. Be sure to include some great pictures, a description of the pictures, or even a sweet birthday message to your loved ones.
And of course, while you're on our website, take time to sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club. It is easy to do. You get great deals from local businesses. You also get a special birthday message from your friends here at KOAM. So head over to KOAMnewsnow.com, sign up for that birthday club today. All right, let's take a look at what we're dealing with on our Alert Day Wednesday, and these continue through Friday as we now have excessive heat warnings, Kansas and Missouri, blanket until Friday at 10 p.m. And, you know, they were originally slated to expire tomorrow at 10, but unfortunately Friday looking to be another dangerously hot day as well. And as we mentioned, Tulsa's still playing it a couple of days at a time, so these excessive heat warnings will expire at 8 this evening, go back into effect tomorrow morning, and expire at 8 tomorrow evening, but wouldn't be surprised to see them extended. So as we've mentioned all week long, the number one safety tip is simply don't be outdoors unless you absolutely have to. And as we know, not all jobs are indoors in climate-controlled areas, so those of you who have to be outside, make sure you're staying hydrated, taking frequent breaks, limit the strenuous outdoor activities, wear lightweight, light-colored clothing, and check on the elderly, pets, and the children. As we have heat index values today, again, 110 to 120, making heat exhaustion likely and heat stroke possible and even likely for the more susceptible populations. Kids getting on the bus this morning here in about 10 and a half minutes. We're looking at upper 70s. Out there, partly cloudy skies, and then as we head into the afternoon, clouds increase, but that doesn't do much for our temperatures, only a degree or two cooler out there. We're mostly cloudy by this afternoon, mid-90s, heat index values 105 to 115. As you can see, we got some clouds out there on our camera at 7th and Rangeline. We're sitting at 81 in Joplin, feels like 86. Of course, dew point and humidity, both of those up there at uncomfortable levels. And temperatures around the area, another very warm start. 77 Yates Center, 79 Chanute, 80 Parsons and Neodesha, 78 in Pittsburgh, 77 Chautauqua, Miami, 78 Neosho, 80 Carthage, Lamar, and Stockton, and 79 in Nevada. And then we take a look at the dew points, and boy, they are unpleasant as well. Now, Iola has a lower 70s dew point. Still uncomfortable, but at least it's a little bit lower. Same with Anderson, but the majority of us, so mid to upper 70s on these dew points, closing in on that 80 mark up in Nevada and Stockton. That puts us in the soupy to miserable range. Miserable is not even on here. I feel like we're going to have to add that just because these dew points have been awful. That's given us, of course, a heat index out there even at this hour. 85 Lamar, Carthage, 82 Pittsburgh, Columbus, 85 in Parsons. So it feels like 87 in Stockton. So a very uncomfortable start, to say the least. Again, we'll have the mostly cloudy skies as we start our day. Those clouds will increase, but they only knock us down a degree or two on our temperatures, so it's not going to be any kind of impact at all. And we're going to go into the upper 80s by late morning ahead of another dangerously hot day. Relief is on the way as we close in on the weekend. We'll take a look at your full forecast, the rest of today and the week ahead in just a moment. And when the KOAM Morning News switches over to Fox 14 at 7 a.m., Gustavo Santaolalla is a highly acclaimed Argentine musician who has been recognized for his work in Latin rock, TV, and film. We're going to introduce you to him when we come back on Fox.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. We now know the identity of the victim in the weekend Joplin shooting. The shooting happened around 1:30 Sunday morning in the 500 block of Joplin Avenue. Authorities have identified the victim as 21-year-old Quiza Clark of Joplin. They say he's in stable condition. JPD is asking anyone with information to come forward. The Lavac County Sheriff's Office is investigating the suspicious death of a Parsons police canine. Parsons police officials say the canine named Kareem was put into his kennel Monday after working a 12-hour shift and was tended to as normal. His handler then went to sleep, and when he woke up, he found Kareem unresponsive. Kareem was a 4-year-old Belgian Malinois that's been with the department since 2021 as part of their narcotics department. His body was sent to the Kansas State University School of Veterinary Medicine for an autopsy. A man is facing charges after a missing and endangered child from Indiana was found in Commerce, Oklahoma. Authorities say Jonathan Juarez was arrested on charges of first-degree rape, possession of child pornography, and harboring a juvenile runaway. Juarez was booked into the Ottawa County Jail. According to the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, a federal hold has been placed on Juarez pending additional charges. And a 70-year-old guard is safe after inmates took him hostage in a St. Louis jail. They took him at 6 yesterday morning, but freed the guard hours later after a SWAT team intervened. The guard suffered minor injuries and was treated at a hospital. Authorities say less than lethal ammunition was used on the inmates, but did not elaborate. The abduction was the latest of several acts of violence inside the jail, known as the City Justice Center, which holds nearly 700 inmates. Advocates for inmates have long complained about conditions at that jail. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
As you head out the door, dangerous heat continues. Excessive heat warnings, heat index values 110 to 120. Mostly cloudy skies. The clouds don't do much for us temperature-wise. Still upper 90s and some lower 100s out there. Hot and cloudy through the evening as well, and still warm overnight. Upper 70s, low 80s. And we'll hold on to the triple digits all the way through Friday with those excessive heat warnings continuing until then. Still a little bit on the hot side Saturday. Pop-up storms Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And temperatures, I just really want to show you the 10-day. Look at this. As we fall back into the mid to upper 80s, and then by the end of next week, maybe some lower 90s out there. So relief is on the way, just a few more days to get there.
All right, I think we can hold on then. There's light at the end of this tunnel. All right, well, coming up today at noon, we're making sizzling margarita steak in the Mr. Food Test kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your lonely local morning news continues. This morning, an unexpected in-flight announcement left passengers cheering on a recent United Airlines flight. This is a case where the skies aren't just friendly, they're family friendly.
Plus, we're going to learn more about an education play date known as Mornings with Mommy. But that's going to wrap it up for us for now. We had so much fun doing this that we're going to do it again tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you today at noon.